Hello. If your partner has cheated on you, whether you just found out about it yesterday or it's been months or even years and you still can't move past it, if you're lying awake at 3 a.m. replaying every conversation, every lie, every moment you miss the signs, if you can't stop crying, you're convinced that you're never going to trust again, or your life as you knew it feels like it's completely over, then I'm going to show you how to stop the spirals, how to feel indifferent to what he's doing and rebuild your life in weeks, not years. And all of this without years of painful therapy, without rehashing the past, without waiting for him to apologise or change, and without losing yourself in the process. I'm Emily Hall, and 8 months after my fiance cheated, I was still drowning, drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, hoping a bus would come and hit me. But once I discovered the neuroscience-backed method that I'm about to share with you today, everything changed in a matter of weeks. By the end of this training, you will have a powerful tool that you can choose to use straight away to calm the panic. Plus, you'll finally understand the 3 lies about betrayal recovery that are keeping you stuck. So you can finally start healing for real and take back control of your life, making decisions from a place of strength and calm, not panic and desperation. What I teach today will help you go from feeling like a complete shit show to shit hot, and you'll finally be able to feel indifferent to what he's doing, fully focused on building the life that you deserve. And even if you're convinced you'll never trust again, even if you're still living with him and you don't know whether to stay or to leave, even if you've tried everything, nothing has worked, I promise you this training will make a huge difference to how you think and feel right now. Okay, so let's just rewind a little bit and go back to the shitty reason that you're here. Maybe you just found out that your partner's cheating. Maybe it's been weeks since you discovered it, or months, but you still can't function properly. Or maybe it's even been years and you're still not over it. Maybe you discovered texts, photos, messages that you could never unsee. You might have found some hotel receipts, dating app profiles, or maybe you caught him deleting his browsing history at 2 a.m. Or maybe, and this is the part that makes you feel really sick, you knew something was off for months, even years, but you ignored that gut feeling. You made excuses for his behaviour that you'd never tolerate from anyone else, and now you're angry at yourself for not seeing it all sooner. You're probably feeling a bit obsessive and out of control. You can't stop checking his phone, stalking her social media, replaying every conversation, trying to find out where it all went wrong. Your stomach drops every time his phone rings. You torture yourself with images of them together. And by the way, there is no judgment here, because this is exactly how I was when I found out that my husband-to-be was cheating. So I promise you, there is no judgment. Maybe you feel completely shattered. 1 minute you're numb, the next you're sobbing so hard you can't breathe, then raging inside, wanting to destroy everything. You might even want to feel like killing the little shit. But of course you won't, because you're a kind person. But this version of yourself has pushed you to the edge and you don't recognize yourself anymore. You're humiliated and you feel worthless. That same question loops endlessly. Why wasn't I enough? Am I not attractive enough, slim enough, interesting enough, good enough? You compare yourself to her constantly and it's exhausting. You feel paralyzed about what to do. Maybe you're still living with him. Part of you wants to leave, but there's another part of you that's terrified of being alone. You're swinging back and forth. One day you're done, the next day you are desperate for him to want you back. And that indecision is so draining. And actually, here's why you can't make a clear decision: because you're making choices from pure emotion, from panic, from fear, from that desperation, craving for the bond that you lost. And when you're in that emotional state, it is impossible to think logically. You end up tolerating crap that you would never accept if you were thinking clearly. And what makes this all so much worse is that he made this choice. He blew up your life. And now you're left scrambling to pick up the pieces of a future that you didn't choose to destroy. You had plans, maybe a wedding, maybe kids, maybe you've got those things already and you were building on that life together. But then in one selfish decision, he took all of that away. You didn't get a say, you didn't get a vote. Your entire future was rewritten without your permission. And now you're stuck reacting to his choices instead of making your own. You're desperate for answers that never come, asking that question, why? Why did you do this? And all you get back is, I don't know, or blank stares, or even worse, he's defensive. He turns it back on you, makes you feel crazy for even asking. And the more you try and talk, the worse it gets. That distance grows, and now you can't trust anything. Not him, not yourself, not your own judgment. And the most awful part of all of this is that deep down, you know you accepted less than you deserved. You saw the red flags. Maybe this isn't even the first time he's cheated. It certainly wasn't for me. And that just makes you feel worse and shameful that you put up with it. You absolutely hate yourself for staying, for hoping, for believing it would be different. And here's what makes this all so brutal. This isn't just emotional pain, it's physical. You literally can't breathe sometimes. Your chest feels crushed. Your heart actually aches like someone has reached in and ripped it out. This is grief. And as someone once said, grief is just love with nowhere to go. All that love you had for him, for your future together, it's got nowhere to land now. And your anger, that is just your heart's bodyguard trying to protect you from the unbearable sadness underneath. But here's what terrifies me about this pain that you're in right now. I speak to women every single week who are still feeling exactly this way. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years after their partner cheated. In fact, I spoke to one lady who was 27 years in. 27 years. Unbelievable. These women never properly dealt with the pain that's mixed up with cheating. They just tried to move on or get over it. And now they can't trust anyone. They've sabotaged every relationship since, or they've given up on love completely, convinced that every prospective partner is going to hurt them, so they become avoidant. Or, on the opposite side, they become too needy. They become so desperate for reassurance, so terrified of being abandoned again, that they cling. They check their new partner's phone constantly. They need constant validation. They panic if someone doesn't text back immediately. And that neediness, that desperation, of course, it pushes people away. It creates the very abandonment that they're trying to prevent. These women, their cynicism has seeped into their friendships, their work, even how they parent. They're walking around with this wound that never healed, and it is poisoning everything. Because here's the brutal truth. If you don't actively heal from this, it doesn't just go away. It becomes part of who you are. And I refuse to let that happen to you. It is my mission to help as many women as possible break free from this cycle, to turn betrayal into the catalyst for becoming the strongest, most confident version of themselves, because you deserve better than carrying this wound for the rest of your life. That's why I'm here. That's why I created this method. But here's what I need you to know. You are not crazy, you are not weak, and you are not broken beyond repair. What you're experiencing is a very specific type of trauma response. And everything you've been told about how to heal from it is what's keeping you stuck in this endless cycle of pain. And I know this because I've lived it. When my fiance cheated while I was planning our wedding, it didn't just break my heart. The betrayal, the emotional devastation, the anxiety, the stress of it all, it triggered a huge chain reaction that destroyed my entire life. Within months, I had lost everything. I'd lost my job as I was running his business. I lost my life savings. I lost my best friend and most of my other friends because suddenly I was single and they were all coupled up and I just didn't fit anymore. Some of my family disappeared and I was hit with early menopause on top of all of it, right when I wanted to have children. So to say I was on the floor would be an understatement. I was completely and utterly broken. I was drinking 2 bottles of wine a night just to block everything I was feeling out. And that lasted a long, long time. And the worst part of it all was that none of it was my choice. I didn't choose for him to cheat. I didn't choose to lose my job, my savings, my friends. I didn't choose early menopause or to cancel a wedding or to give up having children. He made one choice and it stripped away every choice from one of my diary entries that I found. And this entry was a whole 8 months after I found out. So when you've been up half the night thinking about how life used to be, earning lots of money, going to wonderful places, feeling safe, feeling secure, being loved. And then you realize how life is now. No partner, no children, no job, no money, no safety. It is a very, very dark, terrifying and lonely place to be. Mourning the wedding that never was. the children that you never had, the love and security that's gone forever. You wonder what it's all about as you desperately try to clamber back onto that road of happiness, only to be caught at every turn by cruelty, betrayal, and heartbreak. You realise that you're alone, totally alone. It's only you now. That optimistic, trusting, childlike you, gone forever. And that's where I was, 8 months in. 8 months. 8 months in, and I was still fucking drowning. And everyone thinks at that point you should be over it by now. You know, I remember someone saying to me, you've been through a lot worse than this, which was true. Medically, I'd died twice in the past, I'd had major operations, I'd had loads of other shitty stuff happen in my life. But this felt way worse than all of those things put together, because here's what nobody tells you about betrayal. Time does not heal it. It doesn't. Time does not heal it. 8 months later, I was still just as broken as day one, and maybe if not more. The pain, it was excruciating. It was so excruciating that I used to hope that a bus would come along and run me over, so I just didn't have to deal with it. And look, if that's where your head is right now too, if you're having those same dark thoughts, please pause this video and call someone. Samaritans in the UK is 116 123, or if you're in the US, call or text 988, because I promise you there is a way through this. I'm living proof, but you know, if you are in that headspace right now, you need immediate support. Okay, I just want to make that clear. If you're in that headspace, please pause this video and go and get that help. But getting back to my story, of course, thank God that bus didn't come for me, because I'm here now and my life is bloody amazing. But back then, I genuinely couldn't see a way out. But then somebody said something to me that completely changed everything. She said, look, no one's coming to save you. And when she said it, it was like this big, great slap in the face. It was really painful to hear, I'm not gonna lie. But she was right. He wasn't coming back to apologise, and even if he did, it was not going to undo the damage that he'd done. My family wasn't coming back, my friends weren't coming back. No one was going to suddenly show up and make it all okay. No one was coming to save me. The only person who could pull me out of this mess was me. And that's when I really realised that I'd given away my power, all of my power. Actually, if I'm really honest, I'd been giving my power away long before he even cheated. I was so afraid of losing him, so terrified he'd leave, that I just lost myself trying to keep him. I ignored the red flags, I made excuses, I dimmed myself down, and even when he betrayed me, I was still waiting for him to decide what happened next. I was waiting for him to apologise, for him to fix it, for him to make a decision about our future. But why was I letting the person who destroyed my life be the one who got to decide what happened next? I realised then that I needed to take my power back, to stop reacting to his choices and start making my own. But here's what I also realised. Taking my power back wasn't just about making a decision. It was about understanding why I couldn't move forward. You see, I'd been doing everything I was supposed to be doing. I was doing the therapy, the journaling, the talking about it, the processing it. But talking about the betrayal over and over was just re-traumatizing me, because here's the thing, betrayal isn't healed by understanding why it happened. It's healed by rewiring how your brain and body respond to it. The problem wasn't that I didn't understand what happened. I did. The problem was that my body was stuck in panic mode 24/7. You know that kind of feeling that you get when you're walking alone at night and you think someone's following you, that constant alert, scanning for danger, that heart racing, that is where my body lived all day, every day. Our brains are naturally wired to scan for threat, so we obsess, we replay, we spiral, and no amount of talking was going to change that wiring. So that's when I stopped waiting. I stopped being a victim. I stopped looking for a fix that didn't exist outside of me. I stopped beating myself up for not being able to just think positively and to just get over it. You know, those people that say that. And I started to look at ways to actually change what was happening in my brain and in my body. I started using brain-based techniques, ways to actually calm my body's panic response, rewire the thought patterns that kept me stuck, and change how my brain reacted to triggers. Not positive thinking, actual neurological rewiring. And that is when everything shifted. And it shifted really bloody quickly, like in a matter of weeks. We're not talking years here. The change in how you feel can happen so quickly when you know how to do it. And if I look back at that diary entry that I read a couple of minutes ago, I don't recognize that person anymore. My God, what a sad, broken woman who honestly thought, I cannot tell you, I honestly believed back then that I would be miserable forever. So what felt like the worst thing ever of my life actually turned out to be a gift. And I realise that at this point, you might just be screaming at me right now going, this is complete bonkers. How the hell can that be a gift? That's a bonkers concept, but please stick with me on this. Following the things that I'm going to show you today, I completely turned my life around. And it's not just that you get over your ex, it's way more than that. Now I don't just survive life. Now I wake up in the morning, I'm genuinely happy to be here. I've got a great group of friends. I've built a 6-figure business. I've tried so many new things. I've been on TV, the radio, and I've helped so many people change their lives now. And I was only able to do all of that, the business, the helping others, the radio, the TV, because I rebuilt my self-worth from the ground up. I got rid of the codependency, the people-pleasing, the belief that I was worthless without somebody else's validation. I learned how to become friends with my mind instead of enemies. And when you do all of that, and when you finally believe that you are enough, stepping out of your comfort zone, it stops being terrifying, it becomes exciting, and your trauma becomes your superpower. Now, I just want to mention here one of the big things I learned as part of this process, and that's that as an empath, I can always understand why people do what they do. I can see their pain, their wounds, their reasons. And this is probably you too. You're a kind person, you're understanding, you're compassionate, you're the type who gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. And being an empath is great, it's what makes us wonderful people, but it's also a big problem. Because when you can understand why someone hurts you, you make excuses for them. You rationalise behaviour that you'd never accept if it happened to your best friend. You give second chances, third chances, 10th chances, because you can see the good in them even when they're destroying you. Being deeply empathic makes betrayal hit so much harder. You absorb their shame, their guilt, their excuses. You carry their emotional weight on top of your own pain. And you stay far longer than you should because your capacity to understand keeps you trapped in hope. If that's you, if you've been making excuses, tolerating behaviour that makes you sick, staying because you understand why he did it, I need you to hear this. Your empathy is a superpower, but it's been weaponized against you. Part of this work is learning how to protect that empathy without hardening your heart, to understand people without accepting unacceptable behaviour, and to have compassion for yourself first. But you can't wait for time to do the work, and you can't keep doing the same things that kept me stuck for years. You need a different approach, one that calms your emotions so you can think clearly, and then it rewires the patterns that keep you obsessing, spiraling, and stuck in the same old patterns of accepting second best. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you today. And by the way, this type of change, this complete life transformation, it isn't special just to me. Absolutely anyone can do it. But how do you go from heartbroken, broke, and not wanting to be here anymore to enjoying life, not caring what he's up to, and feeling free? Well, it all comes down to understanding 3 critical lies that we've been conditioned to believe about recovery after someone has cheated. And once I understood these lies, everything changed. And I'm going to share them with you right now, because once you see them, you cannot unsee them. And that's when your healing actually begins. So, lie number 1, the first lie you've probably been told by well-meaning friends, family, maybe even a therapist, is that time heals all wounds. Just give it time, it'll get easier. One day you'll wake up and it won't hurt anymore. That is complete and utter bullshit. I'm living proof that time alone does nothing. If you cast your mind back to that diary entry I read from before, that was 8 months after I found out. 8 months of waiting, hoping, trying to give it time. And I was just as broken, if not more broken, than I was on day 1. Because here's what actually happens when you just wait. Your nervous system, it stays stuck in the same trauma loop. Your brain keeps replaying the same thoughts, the same images, the same spirals. Time does not heal trauma. It just gives you more time to practice those same painful patterns. The truth is, betrayal creates a specific neurological response. Your nervous system, it gets stuck in fight or flight mode. Your brain literally rewires itself to scan for threat constantly, which is why you can't stop checking his phone, why you wake up in the middle of the night in a panic, why you torture yourself with images of them together. And you can wait 8 months, 8 years, it won't change until you work on calming your emotions. And that's exactly why some women are still devastated years later, while others transform in weeks. It's not about how much time passes, it's about what you do with that time. So, shift number 1 is this. Stop waiting for time to fix you. Start actively rewiring your nervous system. When you can calm that nervous system and your emotions first, and then rewire the patterns, that is when healing happens in weeks, not years. Okay, on to lie number 2 now. The second lie is that if you could just understand why he did it, then you could move on. So you ask him, why? Why did you do this to me? Why her? Why risk everything? It's why? And you either get, I don't know, which makes you feel insane, or excuses that don't make sense, or even worse, he turns it back on you, makes you feel like somehow this is your fault, so you keep digging, you replay those conversations, you analyze every detail, trying to make sense of what happened. But here's why it's a lie. Here's the brutal truth. Understanding why does not stop the pain. Think about it like this. Even if he sat you down and gave you a perfect explanation, here's exactly why I did it. Here's what I was thinking. Here's my childhood trauma that led to this. Would it actually make you feel any better? No. You'd still be heartbroken. You'd still feel betrayed. You'd still wake up at 3 a.m. spiraling, because the problem isn't that you don't understand. The problem is that your brain and body are stuck in a trauma response. And this is exactly what kept me stuck in therapy for so long. We'd talk about his childhood, his issues, why he might have done it. We'd analyse my patterns, my family history, why I chose him. And you know what? It was interesting, but it didn't stop me drinking 2 bottles of wine a night. It didn't stop me stalking his socials. It didn't make me feel any less worthless. Because talking about why just keeps you stuck in the story. It keeps you analysing the past. Instead, what we need to be doing is rewiring your present. The truth is, you don't need to understand why he cheated. You need to change how your brain responds to what happened. Betrayal isn't healed by finding the perfect explanation. It is healed by rewiring the neurological pathways that keep you obsessing, keep you spiraling, and feeling like you are not enough. So that's shift number 2. Shift number 2 is stop trying to understand why and start rewiring how you respond. When you shift from analysis to action, from talking to rewiring, everything changes fast. Fabulous. So on to lie number 3. This is the biggest, most damaging lie of all, I think. The one that keeps you trapped more than anything else. And this lie is that somehow you think this happened because you believe you're not enough. You're not attractive enough, not interesting enough, not sexy enough, not successful enough. If only you'd been a better person, prettier, more fun, more attentive, he wouldn't have cheated. And here's the really insidious part. Your brain is actively looking for evidence to prove that this lie is true. And it is a lie. It's definitely a lie. And here's why it's a lie. You compare yourself to her constantly. You analyze every photo, every detail, trying to figure out what she has that you don't. You replay conversations, wondering what you did wrong. And then, because your brain is desperate to make sense of something that doesn't make sense, you convince yourself it must have been me. I wasn't good enough. That is a complete lie. Here is the truth. And the truth is hard to hear, but it's absolutely essential. His cheating had nothing to do with you. Nothing. Let me tell you something. When my fiance cheated, I tortured myself with this. I compared myself to her endlessly. I was convinced that if I'd just been different, better somehow, he wouldn't have done it. But what I've learned after years of working with women going through this exact same thing, some of the most beautiful, successful, interesting, loving women on the planet get cheated on. Women who did everything right. Women who were incredible partners. Women who anyone would be lucky to have. Because here's the thing, cheating isn't about you not being enough. It is about his choices, his wounds, his inability to deal with whatever he's running away from. You could be a supermodel, a CEO, a perfect partner, and he would still make the same choice because this is about him, not you. So shift number 3 really is the most important one. This was never, ever, ever about you not being enough. You don't need to become better to be worthy of love and respect. You already are enough. You always were. What you need is to stop letting his choices define your worth, to build a shield of self-esteem so bulletproof that what he did or what anyone else does, it cannot touch who you know you are. And that's exactly what the method I'm going to show you does. Okay, so those are the 3 lies that are keeping you stuck. Number 1, time heals all wounds. It doesn't. Active rewiring does. Number 2, you need to understand why. You don't. You need to change how you respond. And number 3, you're not enough. Bollocks. You are. This was never about you. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Yeah. All right, Emily, this all sounds great. But how? How do I actually rewire my nervous system and my emotions? How do I stop the spirals? How do I build that self-worth shield? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to give you a practical tool, something that you can use today, tonight, the next time you feel that panic rising or you find yourself spiraling in the middle of the night. And this is called the Betrayal Reset. Okay, it's designed to interrupt the nervous system response that keeps you stuck in panic, obsession, and those 3 a.m. spirals. And this isn't about thinking positively or telling yourself affirmations that you don't actually believe. This is about physically calming your nervous system so your brain can actually function again. Because here's what's happening. When you're triggered, when you see his name pop up, when you catch a glimpse of her on social media, when you wake up in the middle of the night, your nervous system goes into full threat mode. Your body floods with cortisol, with adrenaline, your heart races, your thoughts spiral, and physically, you can't think clearly because your brain is in survival mode, and no amount of just calm down or stop thinking about it works because you're trying to use logic to fix a physiological problem. So we need to work with your body first, and then your mind is going to follow. So here's what we do. I'm going to teach you step by step. Okay, so step one, first of all, you've got to notice and name it. So the moment that you feel that panic rising, that urge to check his phone, that spiral setting, just pause, and you're going to say to yourself, this is a trauma response. This is my nervous system reacting to a perceived threat. This feeling is temporary and I can help myself through it. Just by naming what's happening, it starts to create distance between you and the panic. You are not the panic, you're just observing it. Step two is the physiological sigh. So this is a technique that is backed by neuroscience research. It's one of the fastest ways to calm your nervous system down, and here's how you do it. You take a deep breath in through your nose. At the top of that breath, you take a second, smaller breath in, a little sip of air, and then you let it all out slowly through your mouth with an audible sigh. And you do that 2 or 3 times. This double inhale pattern specifically targets the part of your brainstem that regulates your stress response. It literally signals to your body, we're safe, we can calm down now. Okay? Don't worry, you're going to practice this in a minute. So step 3 is to ground yourself in the present. Now, I use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique to bring yourself back to the present moment. So what happens is you look around and you name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. And you can say them out loud, you can say them in your head, but you really, really focus on each one. And this pulls you out of the spiral, which is always about the past or the future, and it anchors you into the present moment, right now, where you are actually safe. And then step 4 is that you're going to choose your next action. So once that nervous system is calmer, you get to decide what to do next. So you decide not from panic, but from a place of choice. So you might text a friend, I'm spiraling. Can you remind me that I'm all right? You might put your phone in another room, go for a walk, do something with your hands, make a cup of tea, fold laundry, anything that keeps you present. You might even watch this masterclass again because of all the useful information in it. But the key is you're making a conscious choice instead of reacting on autopilot. Now, I know that this feels a lot, but this whole process takes about 2 minutes. That is it. And it works because you're acknowledging what's happening. So you're saying to yourself, I hear you. You're giving that nervous system and your thoughts validation. You are not ignoring them, which is the worst thing that you can do, by the way, but it is what we try and do. We're like, oh, stop thinking that. But no, you're acknowledging it. Also, you're physiologically calming your body, not just thinking your way out, which most people teach you to do. And you're anchoring yourself in safety into the present moment. But also, on top of all of that, you are taking back control. You are choosing your next action. Now, this obviously isn't a magic wand that makes all of that pain disappear, but it is a circuit breaker for the spirals. And the more you practice it, the faster it works. And your brain starts to learn, oh yeah, we know how to handle this now. We don't have to panic. And here's what else this does. It puts you back in control, which is one of the things when somebody cheats, I think we just feel like we've lost control. So when you're spiraling, you're reacting from emotion. And when you make decisions from that emotional place, when you're desperate for connection, you're terrified of being alone, craving that bond, it's so easy to accept terrible behaviour. It's easy to take him back even though nothing's changed, to ignore those red flags because you just want that pain to stop. But when you use this tool, you calm your emotions first. That way you can think logically and then you can make decisions from strength, not desperation. And it might sound small, but it is everything because it's the first step in taking your life back. Okay. So let's actually practice this right now together quickly. So think about something that triggers you. Maybe it's his name, maybe it's an image of her, maybe it's thinking about what they did. And now I want you to notice that feeling rising. And just say to yourself, this is a trauma response, it's temporary. This is a trauma response, it's temporary. because all feelings are temporary, and it's really important to remember that here. Okay, so we're going to say this is a trauma response, it's temporary. And then we're going to do the physiological sigh. So do it with me. Big breath in, small sip in of air, long sigh out, and then ground yourself. Look around. Name 5 things that you can see right now. What can you see? The cushion, the flowers, the light, the lampshade, the sofa, my top, anything you can see right now. And can you feel that? Even just doing it once, there's a big shift, isn't there, when we do it? And that is your emotions starting to regulate. Well done. So that's it, the Betrayal Reset System. One tool that you can start using today to feel calmer in minutes, to help you think more clearly when you're triggered and stop those early morning spirals before they destroy your whole next day, and actually get a good night's sleep for once. And by the way, this is just the surface level version. In my program, we go much deeper with this technique. We customize it to your specific triggers. We layer in additional strategies that calm your body's stress response. And we work on rewiring the brain at the root patterns, so you don't just calm the spiral, you prevent it from happening in the first place. But even this basic version is going to help. It gives you breathing room. It helps you function when you're in the thick of it. The thing is, though, that this tool calms the immediate spiral, but to go from where you are now, heartbroken, obsessing, feeling worthless, to genuinely indifferent to what he's doing and loving your life, then you need the complete system. You need to rewire those deep, deep patterns that keep you codependent. You need to break the I'm not good enough story at its root. You need to build bulletproof self-worth that doesn't rely on anyone else's validation. You need to create indifference so powerful that he simply doesn't take up space in your head anymore. And you've got to future-proof yourself so you never settle for scraps again. And finally, that's when you'll be able to move on. And whether that means leaving with your head held high or staying, it's going to be from a place of genuine choice and rebuilt trust, not fear and that desperate, clingy codependency where you can't function without him. And that's exactly what happens in my Life After Cheating Platinum program. Look, if you want to wake up without that pit of dread in your stomach, if you want to stop checking his phone, stalking her socials, torturing yourself with what ifs, if you want to finally believe the truth that his cheating had nothing to do with you not being enough, if you want to take back control of your life, making decisions based on what you want, not just reacting to what he did, if you want to feel genuinely happy on your own, not desperately clinging to somebody else's validation, if you want to choose your next chapter, and whether that's leaving or staying, that's okay, but it's your choice. If you want to show up confident at work, present with your kids, actually enjoying your life again, and most importantly, feel completely indifferent to what he's doing because you're too busy loving your new life that you're building on your terms, then you do need this complete system. And it's exactly why I created my Life After Cheating Platinum program, because that's what it does. We work together intensively to take you through the 4 phases of betrayal recovery. And my clients typically see major shifts within the first weeks. They go from chaos to calm, from heartbreak to healing, from obsessing over him to genuinely not giving a shit what he's doing. You go from shit show to shit hot. You'll stop the spirals, break the codependency patterns, rebuild your self-worth from the ground up, and create a life you actually love, not one you are just surviving. And this isn't years of therapy, it's not talking in circles, this is targeted nervous system rewiring and practical tools that create real change in weeks. And it works. Over the last 15 years, I've helped countless women transform their lives. Now, I can't share a lot of the stories here because they're deeply personal, but what I can share are these 3. So here's Sophie. She couldn't sleep for months. She was obsessively checking his phone, stalking the other women's socials, but within weeks, she was sleeping through the night and she said, I don't even care what he's doing anymore. I am focused on me. Then there's Rebecca, who was convinced that she'd never be enough for anyone after 27 years of avoiding men after a betrayal, which left her feeling completely broken. She is now super confident. 12 weeks later, I don't use humour to hide anymore. I feel confident and I know what I deserve. And then there's Claire, who was paralysed. Should she stay or should she leave? Through the programme, we rebuilt her self-worth first. Then she made her decision from strength, not fear. And she says, I didn't walk away broken, I walked away powerful. Even my kids have noticed how much calmer and happier I am. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this work is not easy. It is deep, it's direct, and sometimes it is uncomfortable. You're going to have to look at patterns that you've been running, the beliefs you've been carrying, the ways you've been abandoning yourself. But if you're willing to show up, honestly do the work and trust the process, even when it feels messy, this will change everything. And it's not going to change just how you feel about him, it's going to change how you feel about yourself, how you show up in life, in every single area of your life. So if you're done waiting, if you're done coping, if you're done pretending you're fine when you are crumbling inside, if you are ready to turn this betrayal into the breakthrough that sets you free, then I would love to talk to you about working together. So here's what to do next. Below this video, you'll see a button that says book your free action plan call. Click that button and you'll be taken to my calendar where you can choose a time that works for you. And on this call, which is completely free by the way, we'll talk about where you are right now and what you're struggling with most. We will map out exactly what needs to shift for you in order to go from where you are to where you want to be. And if it feels like a good fit for both of us, I'll share how the Platinum program can get you there. And this isn't one of those high pressure sales calls. You know your situation better than anyone. I just want to help you see what's possible and give you a clear action plan for your next steps. And that might be working with me or it might not. So we decide on that call. Now, I do need to be honest about something here. Because this is such intensive work, I can only take on a small number of women at a time. Right now, I have a few spots available, but once they're filled, there will be a wait list. So if this is resonating with you, if you're feeling that pull of, yes, this is what I need, please don't wait. Book that call now while those spots are still open. I know this is scary. I know how scary this is. I know how vulnerable it feels to reach out and ask for help. But I also know what's possible on the other side of this work. That diary entry that I read to you earlier, that broken, drowning woman who thought her life was over, she had no idea everything would change, that she'd build a business, get on TV, but most importantly, genuinely love herself and her life. You don't have to stay stuck in the pain you're in. You don't have to do this alone. And you don't have to wait for years to feel better either. But most importantly, and I think this is the most important thing of all, you don't have to let his one terrible choice define the rest of your life. He took your choices away once. Don't let him keep doing it. Take your power back. Take control of your healing. Take control of your future. So click that button below, book your action plan call, and let's talk about getting you from shit show to shit hot on your terms, in your time, building the life you choose. I'll see you on the call.